Okay, good evening. Again, I excuse myself for not being totally clear because of my cold. We're learning Lila Nishmas. Again, Miriam Rus, Bas Chava Moshe, Neshama She'av and Aliyah. We have 10 lines from the bottom. Make it 12 lines from the bottom on Samech Beis Amid Beis. The whole new sugya that we saw yesterday. Now we know that Perish Fias, we know that it's only La'achla B'loi L'Schayra. You can't use it to go ahead and do business with it. If you do, then usually the money that you do business with has Kedusha Shemitah, and you have to get rid of it b'shas habir. There's machlokes rishonim. What do you do b'shas habir? Do you have to destroy it or just be mafker it? That seems to be a machlokes rishonim. Tais is of the opinion that you mafker it. Okay, that you mafker it. At the time of beer, you have to be mafker it. No, you don't have to destroy the crop. And that's when it's not available to the animals in the field anymore. So you don't have to destroy the crop. You just have to go in and be mafker it. But anyway, the Bei Reb Yanai, Yasvei Peri Shvius Me'aniyim, they would borrow Peri Shvius from Aniyim, Uparla B'Shminis, and they would go ahead and pay it up in the 8th year. So l'chayra, they're borrowing Paris crops, if Aniyim, and now they're going ahead, and this is obviously before this manabir, guys, right? This is before they had to get rid of it. So before you had to get rid of it, they're going ahead and borrowing crops. They owe now money. They're going ahead now and paying back in the 8th year. So what's the shaila? Is that money, are they doing the right thing? Or that money is going to have what? The kedusha shmita of what? Of the crop of the 7th year. Guys, you hear the shaila. That's what they did. They went ahead, they borrowed 7th year produce before Zman Abir, so you don't have to get rid of it, you don't have to mafker it. And now they're paying back with in the 8th year with produce in the 8th year. Now the question is that produce of the year they're paying back, does it get Kedusha Shemitah? Because we know Shemitah is matfis, b'dameha, right? It always gets passed down, right? So we know that already. So they came to who? They came to the Asu Amrulay Rabbi Yochanan, and they came in the yes Rabbi Yochanan. What's the story? If they did the right thing. So Amalahu, Rabbi Yochanan said, Yeyos, Geshmak, you did very good. Right? Ukenegdon be'esnan. Okay, let's forget esnan for a second. What did they do? Why is it good? Why is it not a problem? Why is it not a problem? So Rashi, guys. Rashi. Yeyos means Geshmak, you did it. Yeyos Avdin, you did the right thing. Kivina Hishaita in the 8th year, like Havi Hanach Be'en, the produce of the 7th year is no longer around. Hani Bahani. You're not switching 7th year produce for 8th year produce. Lav chalipin ninu. It's not chalipin. And therefore it's not chal on it. In other words, fellas, in order for there to be a chalois of chalipin, the object of the hatfas of kedusha to pass it along has to be in the veld. It's not in the veld. It's nishta. It's not here. In other words, ostensibly, it has nothing to do with the 8th year. If the 7th year crops were there and you're piercing it for 8th year, 9th year, 10th year, you'd have a problem because the vehicle, that's a good word, the vehicle to transfer the Kedusha would be in the world. But since it's not in the world anymore, why? Because they borrowed and used it up in the 7th year, it's not a problem. Guys, that's the key to the sugya. That's the key to the sugya. It's not in this world anymore. And it makes a lot of sense. I don't have the vehicle, I like that word. You don't have the vehicle to transfer the Kedusha. Why? Because it's not here. Because it's nishta in the Welt. Okay. Ukinegdan ve'esnan. And we find a similar case by Esnan. Steht in the Torah, in the Devarim, Perich Chav Gimel Pasuk Yates, Leisavi Esnan Zayna Umechekelav Beis Hashem Elokecha. Do not bring Esnan. Esnan's Lashon says guys, Esnan, Lashon Matana. It's Lashon Matana. There's the Ibn Ezra. So the Lashon Matana, don't bring what? Don't bring an esnan zayin or mechakelev or something you switched for a dog. Based Hashem lekecha as a carbon l'chol neder. Ki tayavas Hashem lekecha gam shneiim. Hashem tayeva doesn't like either one of them. Not like is an easy word. Tayeva is much starker. This is an abomination. It's an abomination. So he just doesn't want it. Now we're going to find the same thing by what? By Zaina. Now, I'm going to tell you the same thing because I had trouble with this. I had trouble figuring it out. So let me tell you, before we get into the brisa that's going to illustrate that point, let me tell you what the point is. In other words, I'm giving you the last page of the book, guys. You don't have to read the whole book. I'm giving you the last page. You're going to the end of the movie, Lahavdil. You're going to the end. Now, let's say the guy was boiled designer, and then he gives her the esnan. You hear this? He was boil her, but afterwards he pays. It's not esnan zayna. Why not? He's paying for, because the bee is not in the world. Just like the Paris is not in the world, the bee is not in the world. Ukinegdon, guys. That's the combination. Okay. Now we're gonna get here's what's gonna happen. Now we're gonna get into a brisa. It's gonna make no sense. I just gave you the list shot, and then the Gemara is gonna digress to explain this whole brisa. But again, you have the connection to Rabbi Yanai's din. Okay, just like you boil her and then you gave the estan, it does have a din of estan because the bee is nicht in the world. Again, what's the svara, fellas? On this object, there's a tayeva, it's tayevas Hashem. But once the object is not in the world, there's no the tayav is not here now. So it's not like the kedusha, the shemitah to go, the ta'ava of the illicit act is not in the world to go on the thing because you hip shot. The illicit act in the Paris, that's the comparison. It's funny, but that's the comparison. Okay, Geshmak. It says the Gemara. Okay, the Tanya. Listen to this brisa, guys. Nos-in-law, if you give it to her, but there's no bia, aleha, if there's a bia, nos-in-law esnana, but you don't give an esnan, mutter. Guys, this is what you just said. This is what you just said. You didn't give her anything, or you weren't boil. Mutta, of course it's mutta. In one case, there was no esnan, and in the other case, there was no action. There was nothing. Says the Gemara. Right away. Says the Gemara. Nasan lavalei ba'ala pshita. If she gives the nasan la, you give her an animal. She brings it as a carbon. Pshita that it's good. Kivin leiba leha matana ba'amahu diyavla. You gave him matana, so that can't be pshat in the brisa. Visu, the next case, ba'al leha v'lei nasan la imuta. Muta halayavla v'lei midi. There's no animal here to bring. What's going on over here? Okay. For kivin lei nasan la mayasnana muta. What does it mean? Elahachi kamar. Here's the way. Here's pshat, guys. Nos-in-law, you gave her the esnan, and it doesn't mean you weren't boil her. The achakach boaleha, and only after you give her the esnan. So you gave her the esnan, and afterwards you were boil leha. Now the Gemara is going to ask why is that so pashut. But again, oi, this is what we need. Oi boaleha, there was a bia. The achakach nos-in-law esnana. And then afterwards you gave the esnan, mutter. That's the case we need, guys, right? Where you were boil, then you gave the esnan. It's mutter. Why? Because the bee is not in the world. So that's the connecton to the case of Rabbi Yanai, that when they gave back in the 8th year, they gave the crop, there was no 7th year for it to be chalon. Over here, there's no bia of ta'eva for it to be chalon, and that's the connecton. Now the Gemara will go and go back and explain what the whole thing. Yes, Nassim.
But isn't the case of Nasan Law V'Achakach Ba'aleh, that's a regular case?
No, you do B'Shas Maisa.
Oh, not B'Shas Maisa, later on.
Nasan Law V'Achakach.
Okay.
Not B'Shas Maisa. It's yeah. Okay, good. Now, says the Gemara. Now, so guys, you have the connection. Guys, you hear the connection, right? We have the connection to the Rav Yanai. Now the Gemara is going to go over the case of the two cases of the Brisa. What's the first case of the Brisa? Nasan lo v'yakach ba'aleha. Now, you told me that what? That it's muta. You gave it to her, then ba'aleha, you said it's muta. Ba'aleha, this is what I think was bothering Nasan. Ba'aleha, Omer Aleph, leichel Allah isa esa l'mafreya. What do you mean? Why did you give this animal? Obviously, it was what? For for the action, right? For what's tutzach da, right? You gave it for that. So Memela, why does it have to be b'shas ma'isa? You gave it afterwards, like so. What's again? I don't understand. I think that's what's bothering Nassim. So you give it afterwards. Mafreya, why is she getting this? It's for the tayeva that happened. Memela, you should not be able to bring this as a carbon. So Amar Rabbi Laza, not Eliezer, Amar Rabbi Laza, Kishakodma Bikrivasai. You know what happened? She went ahead and she brought it as a carbon before, right? She brought it, right? Nasanla, you gave it to her. You gave it to her. She brought it as a carbon, and then there was a bia. As was, so it's pashut, right? There was no bia. There's no esnan. This is okay. So says the Gemara, Amar Blaza, Kishakadma Vikriva. Now, Hechidami, what does that mean? She brought as the carbon before the Bia. Ida Amala, if he told her, Kani Lech Me Achshav, be kind it now, Pshita, the Shari, the Lessa, Bishas Bia. It wasn't here. At the time of the Bia, it was already Nishta in the Welt. Matana Ba'almahu the Yavla. He gave him right? He gave it outright. V'ida Loyamala, Kani Lecha Me Achshav. And let's say he didn't say to her to go ahead what and be kinder from now. Hechi matzah mekarva. How could she bring it as a carbon? V'ish ki yagdish is basically kodesh amrachmana. Ma basically b'shusay avkol b'shusay. In order to bring a carbon, it has to be yours. So mamanushach, he gives it to her. So if he says it's yours from now, guys, so what? It's not an esnan. The bia took place afterwards. And if he did not say that, he just gave it to her, but it's not hers, how could she bring it as a carbon? So what kind of teretz is this? In other words, there's a chiddush over here of nasan la uba leha. That's the chiddush over here. Nasan la uba leha. So what's the chiddush? She brought it as a carbon. For the Gemara, I don't see the case. If she said it's yours now, there's no chiddush. And if he didn't say it, then she can't bring it as a carbon. So what's pshat in Rabbi Lazar's ukimta of this cryptic brisa? Ella, the Amar La Lahavi Gabeich at Shas Bia. It should be by you until the time of Bia. And if you need it, Kone Me'achshav. Rashi. V'imitztirchle Kone Me'achshav Hilkach. Itztrich Masnisa Nashmina. We need the Brisa to tell me. The Afa Gav the Amar La Lo Nikni Lecha at Shas Bia, which guys would make it a classic esnan, right? It's not yours until Shas Bia. Kivin the Hada Amala imitztarich lech kni me'achshav. If you need it, it's yours from now before the Bia. Havili matneschina. It's a matana. Kishakli say vakrivi say. When she goes ahead and takes it and brings it. In other words, and when he tells her, if you need it, may achshav, that's taking care of the problem of ish kiyagdish basically, right? That has to be yours. So in other words, it took care of the problem. And there's a tremendous chiddush over here. Because he's taka saying it should be yours b'shas the bia. So the shmek von esnan, right? But since he said 1 second, you could go ahead and bring it, and she does bring it, so now it's not so pashut. Now, and that's the chiddush. So it's an ukimta. The brisa that says Nasan lo ba'alecha is speaking where he said, it's yours b'shas bia, but if you need it earlier, it's yours now. In that case, you might think since he said b'shas bia, it's esnan. Kemashmala, no. Since she needed it now and she brought it as a carbon now, it's matana ba'alma. It's not an esnan and it's mutter, meaning it's not an esnan, it's mutter, and that's a chiddush. That's the chiddush in the first case. Good? No. Just a side point now. Guys, we're good. In other words, what are we doing? We're going back over the brisa of Esnan, the two cases, Nasan lo bo'alecha, and then we explain bo'alev and Nasan, right? We do that case. And now we're just adding, we saw how it's negeya us, right? The fact that the bia is not in the world, just like the payers is not in the world, and the substantiated Rabbi Yana is going ahead and paying back in the 8th year. And now we're going ahead and analyzing the brisa. That's the mechanics of the Gemara. So now we're just a side point. Boy Ravishia, Kadma Vikishasai. Mahu. Let's say she, instead of being makrid as a carbon, she was magdashit. Let's say she didn't bring as a carbon, but she was magdashit. Good. Kivin the Amamar. Amirasai Ligavoya. Kimsirasai Lehedyet. Kimandak Risa Dami. Right? Do we say Amirasai Ligavoya? Like by a kinyan, by hegdish, guys, it's not necessary a kinyan. By hegdish, we know by a god, the whole world is his. I think I spoke as a Ramban. Since the whole world is his, I'm Russell the Gavoy, Kim Russell the Hedge works as Chatzah, guys. I spoke it as Ramban. It works beautiful, guys, right? Why does Hashem need a kinyan? Because it's kinyan Chatzah. The whole world belongs to Hashem. So as soon as you say something, right? So here's a shaila. On one hand, I'm Russell the Gavoy, Kim Russell the Hedge, and therefore we can view it what as if she bore it as a carbon, and therefore what it doesn't have a din of esnan. Dilma hashtemi hakoi v'isa. It's here again. What was the svara? The svara was it's nicht on the welt anymore. So we could say one thing. Once she was magdashit, it's like she was makravit, and therefore it has no din of esnan. Or no, since it's here, it has a din of esnan. Says the Gemara v'tivshit bid Rebbe Laza. Let's be pushed from the words of Rebbe Laza. Dama Rebbe Laza shekodma. It's speaking where shekodma b'krisai. When she went in, bought as a carbon, dafik revisai, aval kidash loy. In other words, maybe what? Dafka. In other words, you want to take it two steps. One, she said it's kodesh. Two, we'll view kodesh if it's bought as a carbon. So why did Rebbe Lassa say that? Why did he say only if you brought it as a carbon? It must be if you magdash it. It's not. It's not. Must be. It is an esnan. It must be. In other words, since you said that you're makriv it, only then it's mutter. Mashen kain, if it's not makriv, just hegdish, it would be asa, right? Let's be medayik from the words of Rebbe Laza. Dafka, if I go ahead and bring it as a carbon, isn't mutter. Mashen kain, if I wouldn't bring it as a carbon, I was just magdish it. I would say it's, and since it was a bia, that there's an esnan. Since you said that it's yours until if you need it. Here she was magdish it. Okay, says the Gemara, you have no raya. The Rebbe Eliezer Gufa come boy leg. Rebbe Eliezer Gufa, he asked this. My mifsha pshita later the Elazar dekri vasay dafka. Avli d'shasay loy. Then it would be an esnan. The isa b'shas bia because it's there at the time of bia. I dil makri vasay pshita lay. Vakti shasay misafka lay. Maybe no. The Gemara means that dafka makriv, which is pashit, but if you magdish it, maybe also. So no, take. So in other words, don't be medayik. Fait accompli that the act of kodesh it's an estan. Ken zayin it's a suffix. Ken zayin it's a suffix. No right. Okay, now going back to the second case. Bo'aleha v'akach nasala eslan muta. So what was the hesba, guys? What was the hesba? Since it was no longer in the world, the bia, right? Because he was bo'ala already, then v'nasala doesn't have a shem eslan. That was the comparison to Rabbi Yanai. Now let's analyze that for itself. Uriminu al yeshu stira, right? Amrav Nachman by Yitzchak, Amrav Chista. I skipped. Bo'aleha v'yakach nasan la. Afilu mikana shalosh shanim. Even 3 years later, esnana asa. Somebody, listen. You're paying up an old debt, right? You're paying a freedman. He's paying up an old debt, right? And so it says asa. It says asa. So Amrav Nachman by Yitzchak, Amrav Chista, like kasha. Had ama his baili betlezeh. Had ama la his baili betlestam. He tells her be his baili betlezeh with this tle. Then it's up to 3 years. Of course, again you have the chalois. Here it is, and the other one is betlestam. Betlestam. So it's not going on our Mishnah where our Brisa that says it's muta is speaking about betlezeh. Right. Rashi. Betlezeh, kol kamid yavla havi esnan. Whenever he gives her this particular seh, right, the mehashta kanise, right, she's being koined betlezeh. Even if you give this tle 3 years later, since she was koined b'shas bia, good. Mashen tle stam, you say stam a tle in the velt, you don't know which one it is, and therefore it's not koina. And therefore,
did she make a kinyan? Did she make a kinyan?
Okay, we're going to see that in a second. Okay, but again, so that's the difference between the two. In the first case, our Brisa is speaking. We said tlestam, so there was no chalois. Mashen came the stira that was just bought that is speaking where he said tlezeh. Okay. Fred Gemara, v'chi amala betlezeh my have her mechasim mishicha. That nothing was bothered by it. You don't have a kinyan. I mean, just because we know which tle it is, it was never hers that the to'ava should be on it. In other words, guys, remember the pasuk, ki ta'avas Hashem. It has to be that there's a chalois of ta'ava in this animal. But since it wasn't hers, there's no ta'ava in there. So it's not nestan. As I read the Gemara, even though which animal was given, the fact it wasn't hers at that time, so there was no chalois of ta'ava. Says the Gemara, Bizaina avodas kachavim, lekayim meshicha. It's speaking about a zaina avodas kachavim. That's not kind of meshicha. Guys, where do you know meshicha from? Ki yimchu mimchu amisecha or koina miyad amisecha. What's amisecha mean? It's a yid. There's no kinyan of meshicha. All kinyanim of a goy is with kesef. What's the kesef over here, guys? The bia. Guys, the bia is the kesef over here, right? That's the exchange. So Memela, that if you say tlezeh, she's taka koina with the bia because she has no other kinyan. Geshmak. No other kinyan. Meshicha is a kinyan only by yid, not by a goyta. Bezayna but it's from like kinyan meshicha. Be by same aloylam bezayna Yisraelis. We go in the koy bechatzeira. It's in the chatzah. Fred the Gemara, I got a problem. Eat the koy bechatzeira. Bo'ala v'achach nasanla. What do you mean you will boil her and afterwards you gave it to her? If it's in the chassid, there's no afterwards. It's behind. It's right now, guys. Usually it means you did one action, first base, and then you got the second base. Over here, you're both on first base. If it's in the chutzner at the time of the biyah, it's there. Like tzricha, the shavyanele apoiteki. What you made was apoitei koi. He said, listen, this tle, if I don't pay you, then you're going to collect from this tle, right? If I don't pay you, then you're going to go ahead and collect from this tle. So therefore, it's not only clear that this is the esnan when there's not a payment. But when there's no payment, itaka is an esnan. And therefore it's v'achakach. V'achakach, I don't pay you, then you can collect from this. But Einachinami is speaking to Lezeh, that teretz remains the same. Kasha Kinyan, it's a goyata, the Kinyan was the bia. If it's a Jew, the Kinyan was chatzar. It's v'achakach, it's because it's an apoitiki. It's like there in the chatzar, if need be. Otherwise, it's going to be the money.
And by the Jew, the bia can't be the Kinyan, only by a goy?
Yeah.
Kesef is kesef.
Kesef is not koina. We have big machlokes according to Reish Lakish. Let's go back. He's asking good. Do Rishonim speak about this? We have machlokes midoraisa between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Like Rabbi Yochanan, kesef is koina, but Baruch will tell you Shem and Nisra Chitcha B'Aliyah. Maybe it's going to go ahead and burn down in the attic. I even know what the guys know. It's going to burn down in the attic. Therefore they would attack a Mashiach. Whereas Shishak says kesef is not koina. Ki simchu said koina miseche. You need mashicha. It goes into that very good. So now first the Gemara. The Amaloi. Imastin leich zuzei mikan vadyon ploini mutter. I'll give you money and very good. V'loi shakli besnanecha. You'll take this as your esnan. Okay. So you know what we did, guys. Now we finished Let's go through the dialogue. What did we do tonight? Rabbi Yanai went ahead. He was really nice. The Aniyim needed money. Before this man of beer, he went ahead and he borrowed Perish Shmiyah. So he spent a lot of money on that. And now he used it up. And he paid them back, what? With 8th year crops. Right? He went to Rabbi Yochanan and said, Rabbi Yochanan, did I do the right thing? Is this considered a chiluf of Shemitah? Of course, we know Shemitah is Teufis Dameha. And Rabbi Yochanan said, yeah, no problem. Why? Because it's not in the Welt. It's nicht in the Welt. At the time you pay back, it's not in the world. So what do you care if it's not in the world anymore? In order for the Kedusha to be passed over, it has to be there. If it's not there, it's not there. Good. Now, and guess what? We have the same din by what? By a Zaina. So we had two din by a Zaina. We had a case of what? Nasna, you gave him the money and then Ba'alaha, or Ba'alaha v'akach Nasna. So the second case, Ba'alaha v'akach Nasna, what do you see? That it's mutter, it doesn't have a shame esnan. Why? Because the bee is not in the world, so that fuss of the Tayeva is not there to be chal. What was the pshat in the first case? The first case is speaking about an ukimta, where it's saying that you gave her money and then you were boil. You gave her money and then you were boil. It's speaking with what? You told her, I'm giving you b'shas bia. And if you need the money now, it's kind of from now. And then she brings it as a carbon. and therefore it's in her rishus in carbon. And the chiddush is that why it doesn't have a shame esnan, because since he said you can bring it now, and he brought it now, it's not esnan. The latter case is speaking what. The latter case is speaking the case is speaking. It's speaking where he first was Ba'ala and then gave her the money. I had a stira that says Ba'ala giving the money has a shame esnan. That was speaking b'tlezeh, and I'm speaking b'tlesnan. Okay, very good. Getting back to Rabbi Yanai, we're going to ask on Rabbi Yanai's action. Okay, that Rabbi Yanai gave it, and we said that since it's not in the world anymore, it's not a problem. Okay, so Masiv Rav Sheshes, Oima Adam leChamarav uLePoyalav. A guy says to his they can be either goyim or amaratzim. The wagon drive, the donkey drivers or workers. L'chuv achlu bedina zeh. He gives him a dinar and says, do whatever you want with it. Su'u v'shasu bedina zeh. Go take this dinar and drink whatever you want with it. Ve'ena chayshesh, and you're not chayish loy mishum shvius. You're not chayish that they're spending it from people who are chayish for doing business in the Shemitah year. V'loy mishum maisa, you're not chayish that they're buying from amaratzim that not makbid and maisa. V'loy mishum yayin esech, you're not mishum yayin. You know why? Why? I gave you the money. I'm off. I paid you. You pay your worker. He goes to McDonald's. I mean, so good. Nothing you could do about it. Nope. Again, whatever he does, what he does with it. However, vim amalahem tzuva achlu, go ahead and eat. Vani pareya, and I'll pay up. Tzuva shasu, go and drink. Vani pareya, and I'll pay up. Again, so then what's happening, guys? Choishes mishum shvius and mishum shmaisu mishum nesachiyah. Okay, we were worried about Shemitah, right? What are you chayish for? That this money that is going to have Kedusha Shemitah. You know, you're going to give money you're paying up. These guys went and ate from people who are doing business with Shemitah. And now you can have money that there's a din of, it's l'chari after this man beer, and there's halacha of being mafka this money, or getting rid of it, according to the other Rishonim. That you are chayish for. Why? Because he said, you go eat and I'll pay. So they're going to go eat the Shemitah. Now, when they ate, is the Shemitah fruit in the world, guys? When they ate, is it in the world? No, they ate it up. Whatever they bought, they ate. They ate, right? Yet you see what? You see that the money does have what? Kedusha Shemitah. You are chayish. Kasher Rabbi Yanai. Again, Rabbi Yanai's whole svara was what? Since it's not in the world anymore, I don't have to worry. There's nothing for the mafis on. So over here also, they ate. I'm paying up now. When I pay up, it's not in the world anymore. That's going to be the kasha. Alma, what do you see? Ki kapara, demei issa kapara. Hachanami, ki kapara, demei isura kapara. So to Rabbi Yanai, when you're paying up demei issa. Guys, you have a geschmack. Guys, the rest of the Gemara is going to answer this kasha, okay? So let's go through the kasha again. Let's get the kasha. Let's get the kasha good.
Aren't you doing business?
Rabbi Yanai's chiddush was that the balt, it's not in the world anymore. There's no Shemitah to go on this money. It's not here anymore. It's gone. That's what he said. And that was Rabbi Yochanan's Yusin. You did very good. That's what Rabbi Yochanan said. Comes along Rav Sheshes and he's asking, you have a case over here where you're telling the workers, go ahead and eat and I'll pay up. So now, there's three cases. We only care about one. The Shemitah case. They're going what? And we're chayish that they ate Shemitah, and now the money is going to have Kedusha Shemitah on the money. But why? They ate it up already. It's not in the world anymore. So where's the vehicle to be matfis to Kedusha? It's not here. That's the kasha. It's Gavaldiga kasha. And the Gemara now is going to try to answer that kasha, okay? The Gemara now is going to go ahead and give a bunch of terutzim to answer kasha. Looks pretty lumdish, if you ask me. So here, Gemara.
Isn't it doing business?
What?
Aren't you doing business with Shemitah product?
You're not doing it. The other guy is. They're going to amaratzim. The person's a bad guy. The guy who sold it to them is a bad guy. Right. Very good.
Yeah, but I'm responsible to pay for it.
What?
But I'm responsible to pay for it.
I don't understand. Yes, einachinami. Because I told him I'm going to pay. I told him I'm going to pay. I told him I'm going to pay. Einachinami. So the guy, again, you're able to give up to 3 sudas. But if the guy choshit for more than that, it's Gemara in the third parak in Sukkah. So this person they bought the money from shouldn't have done business, right? But he did. Now, it doesn't have to be after the Zman beer. It can even be before the Zman beer. You're asking, so here the guy did nothing wrong. Let's say it's before the Zman beer. Let's say it's before the Zman beer. So does this money have Kedusha Shemitah?
Yeah, you're selling.
Right?
You're selling Shemitah product.
So there's no product. So the guy did the wrong thing, right? The guy did the wrong thing. Ain't nothing on me. But now, what do I care about? I care about that this money, can you use this money or not? Okay? So like if it's not in the world anymore and I'm paying the guy now, where is it? In other words, where is that fruit to go into the money of David? It's not there. That was Rabbi Yochanan's whole chiddush, right?
Okay, yeah.
So the same thing over here, where it's not in the world anymore. You're busy in the process. How could this guy be? So the guy, forget the process. The bottom line is, right now, this money has Kedusha Shemitah. That's what we care about. Okay, now, says the Gemara, so Tigmer of Chista, Bechenvani Hamakifoi. You know what the Brisa that says it's Asa speaking about? It's speaking about a Chenvani that this person, Mamish, does all his business with. And he never has a problem. The Chenvani trusts this guy impeccably. They never have, what's that called, a money transfer in business? What's it called, when you need a cash flow, right? Never have a cash flow problem. Why? Because he always pays up. He always pays up. So why do over here, since it's a Chenvani HaMakifoy, the Mishabdolei, right? That the Balabas, his property is Mishubid to what? To the Chenvani. So even the Urchil Akufe, since normally this is the way they do business. You go ahead, guys, what? Guys, you go ahead and give it. I'm going to go ahead and pay. Kani le dina gabe. Fellas, look at me. Look at me. The problem is the timing. If you give the money now, it's no longer in the world, right? Since this is an ani, since this is a chenvani and the balabas, since the chenvani and the balabas, who are so bound together, as soon as the chenvani went ahead and gave the peiris, it's like the money's there already now, so it's there at the same time. That's the mechanism of the teretz. In other words, I trust this guy impeccably. I'm giving right now, when I give the peiris to these workers, I know the guy, not that he will pay me. He paid me. Guys, you hear the Lashon? Not that he will pay me. He paid me at Getzot. Now, right now he paid. So Mimela, that's the teretz. The whole svara is that he paid after it's not in the world. When he's paying, it's in the world. Because he's so mishubit to the chenvani, it's like it's in the world. That's the teretz of, that's the first teretz we want to give. Okay. Tirgum Rav Chisda, bechenvani imakifai, the mishabdalei, the kivin the urchei lakupe, kani le dina gabe. It's like the din is there right now. Guys, you hear the mechanism of the teretz. Avo chenvani she'ema kifai, a chenvani that doesn't have that same relationship with him. My mutter, then it'll be mutter. Guys, why? Because it's not like he paid now. Good. You with me so far? Okay, now. Let's go back to the Brisa. There was 2 cases in the Brisa. Amid Beis, Amid Aleph. Go back to Amid Aleph. Maser Rav Sheshes. Oima Adam lechamarav ulepoyalav lechu v'achlu bedina zeh. Go ahead, take this dinar and do whatever you want with it. What's the case? Mutta. Yeah, mutta. What's the case that's not mutta? The case where you say, go eat and I'll pay. Why did you need to tell me a separate case to tell me that it's mutter? You could have told me it's mutter in the same second case. you go ahead, you tell the guy, go eat and I'll pay up. If it's a ani, if it's a chenvani, that you're accustomed that you have such a relationship with, then it's asa. But if it's a chenvani that you don't have such a relationship with, then it's going to be mutta. You know, as we always say, the Gemara or the Mishnah will only go ahead and tell me a second case when I can't hear the Chiddush in the same case. In other words, the whole reason you had to tell me mutta was because you said, here's your money now. Mashma, if you would have told him, go and I'll pay for it, then it's always going to be a problem. Because if it's not a problem, leave out the first case completely, fellas. Just say the following. Balabas tells us, Poyalim, go eat, and I'll pay. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about anything. If it's a chenvani that the hakafa, your relationship, your credit line is not so good. But a chenvani that your credit line is so good, it's hakabiyasa. So, Fred the Gemara Kasha. Aval chenvani sheim akifa my mutta ihachi aditonat achlu bedina zeh. When you case number one, you said go eat with this dina, su v'shasu bedina zeh. Go and drink with this dina. Liflug v'lisni bidida. B'medvar mamurim b'chenvani hamakifoi b'chenvani hamakifoi b'mishtabedlei. Aval chenvani sheim akifoi mutta. So why do you have to tell me case number one? You could have told me case of mutta in case number two. Guys, we always say this. In other words, why do you have to bring two cases to tell me one mutta, one asa? You could have told me one case, and in one case I would have heard both. For oid, in addition, the chenvani, any chenvani, fellas, think about it. Any chenvani who's giving you credit, it's a shibud. Why in the world is he giving you credit? Void chenvani she'im akifay mila mishtabit v'amarava ha'im l'chaveirei tein money leplani give $100 to Pliny v'yiknu kol nechasi lecha kanim midin oirev. You see that what? You see that what? That the shibud is schal even without this relationship midin oirev. So in other words, in mechanics I don't understand your teretz, and sveitens your teretz is not correct. I don't understand the mechanics. You wouldn't have to give me case number one because I could have heard mutter in case number two. And sveitens, there's no difference between the chenvani who you have such a relationship with and the chenvani you don't. In both cases, the balabas is meshuvah. The chenvani is not an idiot, guys. He's not giving something out without expecting to be paid, right? So in Mela, that's not a good teretz. So back to the original question. We see from Shemitah that if you tell the guy go and eat and I'll pay, you got to Shemitah the problem. On the other hand, like Rabbi Yana, you don't have a Shemitah problem. In both cases, it wasn't there in the world, and that was Rabbi Yana's whole heta, like Rabbi Yochanan. That's Akasha, and the teretz you just attempted to give is not a good teretz. Okay, now, Elo Amarava, Loishna Makifai v'Loishna Ein Makifa. There's no difference. Afagav de Mishabedle, Kivin le Miyachet Shibude le Mitzar. Right. So since you're not Miyachet the Shibud, it's not asa. We don't know what it's going on. It says Rashi, 3 lines down where it gets wide. There's a shibud to pay, but it's not on any particular money. In other words, guys, what's the case of the chalipin? You take perish shvius and you buy basa. You take basa, you buy dogim. It was always on a genoidik thing. Over here, there's a shibud to pay above. On what? Where is it? It's not there. You're not miyachid money. Then mele, that's the teretz. Okay. Now therefore, if you're not miyachid the money, so that explains why what? That explains why it's considered not in this world. So then. So what's the shmi? So you have to answer up. So why is it asa? If you're not miyachid money, why is it asa? Elahacha my chayshish mishum shvius. Why you chayish v'shmita? Right? No, that's a reason to make it mutter, correct? Guys, but the case is asa. If you tell the guy, go ahead and eat and I'll pay. You know the reason why Rabbi Yana is not a problem? Because we own yachid the money. So why are we here? So Hachamra Papa Kigoin Shehigdim Laidina. He prepaid. He prepaid, so the money was there. Guys, Geschmack. Guys, outside. You went ahead, we have a problem, right? We're going back. Rabbi Yochanan told Rabbi Yanai, we got a tremendous chiddush over here. When you pay in the 8th year, since the 7th year periods are gone, there's no vehicle transfer. Says the Gemara, I'll show you. A guy tells his poilim, you go eat and I'll pay. Okay? There is a Shemitah problem with Chayish. Why? Why Chayish? So we wanted to, don't, and you can't tell me what, Shibu with Hakafa, not Hakafa, it doesn't make a difference. So what's the problem? What's the reason over here? What's the reason Rabbi Yanai? You want miyachid money. So you want miyachid Paris, you want miyachid money. So good is a shibud, but it's not on any particular money to go ahead. Since there's no particular money, you can't say that the kedusha goes on that. Again, the shemitah fruit is going to go on the money, but there's no particular money. The guy just said, I'll pay. Okay. So therefore, why, if that's the case, why is there a problem? Why, if you tell the worker to go ahead and go ahead and I'll pay, why is there no problem? And the answer is, Le Rapapa, you prepaid. When you prepay, fellas, the money is there in the world. That's what we're speaking about. The money is there. Since the money is there, when they go ahead and spend the money on that Shemitah fruit, okay. Now, David, it could be the Isra of business is only after this man beer. It could be business after this man beer. That would answer your question. The guy's not, the Chanvani is doing nothing wrong. It could be the Isra of La'achal of the Schayr is only after beer, is man beer. I have to see, okay? But in order to answer your question, how could they borrow from Aniyim? Because before this man beer, it's mutter ba'anah. It's mutter to use. Okay, anyway. So guys, this would be very geschmack, right? This would be one way to answer the problem. Going Shehign Leidina. Amrav Kahana. I told him the problem. Amalei, ihachi. If it's speaking about where there was prepaid, adatani tzuva achlu tzuva shu, go eat and go drink. Vani pareya tzuva achlu tzuva shu, vani mechashe mi boile. Go eat, go drink, and I'll make a cheshbon because I have the money there already. So it should say that. So Amalei tani tzuva ni mechashe nachinami say that. Ravashi Yama kegoin. Shenatal v'nasim biyad. It's speaking where he paid him immediately. Going shenatal. It says Rashi. What's it speaking about? Shenatal. He went ahead and he took it. The brisa that said that it's asa that Yechayish is speaking with a balabas. He took the food with his own hands and he gave it to the workers. He gave it to the workers. So the balt he gave it to the workers. It's what? It's asa. I think he bought it. He bought the fruit and gave it to them. I think that's the teretz, guys. He bought the fruit and he gave it to them. Rashi. Shenasa miyadachen money. He bought it he carried it from the sharecropper, from the storekeeper, but nasan lehem, and he gave it to the workers. The hashta ihu safile isura. He is feeding them the isur. V'lav mishum piroyin delachas manhu, and the chiv is not mishum disaproyin after this man that it's comparable to Rav Yanai. El kaninu b'mishicha. He's kind of the fruit b'mishicha. V'yashkin shalachach yayin esech. And it's like he found Yayin Nesech, or in this case Shemitah, V'yeshkeu lepoylav, aval hanich debei Reb Yanai, ki shakli peri shas hetahu, v'hiporu l'achaz man b'shas issa shvias lav chalipin ninu litfus. It wasn't there. So over here, like Ramashi, you know what's why that Bryce is asa? He went ahead, he was speaking bismana issa. He went ahead, he took the fruit, he bought it, and he fed it to them. And therefore what? It would be asa. Fred the Gemara, if that's the case, Omer Reb Yemel Ravashi, Yehachi, Adatani tzuva achlu, go and eat. Tzuva shasu, go drink. It should be tluva achlu, take and eat. Tluva shasu, take and drink. Because again, he's not sending them anywhere. He bought it and he's giving it to them. Says Gemara, Amalei tenu tluva achlu tluva shasu. Go ahead, Vlad, say enachinami. Okay, very good shmak.